Alright, thank you everybody. Hello and welcome to Isaac Cast's pub, this time featuring an Invoker. Who would have thunk it? That's coming out from Fatty. Not sure if that was randomed or how that came about, but we shall see. Alright, so let's introduce the teams on the Radiant side. We have the Heroes. We got Holcomb lining up on Slardar. We got Bathtub Daddy playing Grimstroke. On the bottom lane, we got Ahab on the Faceless Void. Interesting starting build, just with the Magic Wand, I guess, against Bristle. That makes sense. Istine on the Skywrath Mage. Also has picked up a Magic Stick. That'll serve him well. And Fatty on the mid Invoker, still deciding what items to go. Meanwhile, the Dire pushed out of their base. The Bristle has a Magic Stick. Got the Nyx Assassin, played by Jeffro. Lost Mirror Teamer on the Abaddon. That's Teaser Tony. The Dog on the Viper. A lot of people get me confused for Dog. And then Dante Quaylin is playing the Clinks. This looks a little bit like a support Clinks. No regen, but the Sentry Ward and the Blood Grenade and the Blightstone. They're posturing up around the top rune. We will get to see exactly what comes of this. In terms of the lineups, Viper's not really too good of a hero right now from my understanding of his numbers and from what better players than me tell me. I like the Void pick. I like the Void pick with the Invoker. That's going to make it easy to set up kills. But it looks like they're giving up the top runes. 2 runes going the way of the Dire and 2 runes going the way of the Radiant. A pretty even and equal exchange. The lane's top look like it's going to be Slardar and Grimstroke up against the Viper and the Bristleback, so that is a support Viper. Looks like we have a mid Nyx Assassin against the 2 Int Heroes, the 3 Int Heroes on the Radiant. That should be pretty effective. Meanwhile, on the bot lane, you got Lost Maritimer playing the Abaddon up against the Faceless Void, up against the Skywrath. He is supported by the Clinks, and that hero can be a very annoying lane support. In terms of how the lane should go, I expect bottom to go probably the way of the Dire, realistically. I think Abba adds more to this lane than the Radiant. Although if he gets an early level and time dilation, I could see that changing a lot of things. The top lane, I definitely see going the way of the Dire. That Viper is just going to be such a pain in their ass, and the Bristle, once he starts to get levels up, is going to be pretty hard to fight into. The mid lane, I see being pretty even. This might just be a matchup where it's more of a skill thing than anything else. So anyways, last hits, no one's breaking away from the Packy just yet, with it being fairly early on in the game. The early items, you got a Mana Boots. That's a good pickup, and it certainly is a good pickup in a game with an Invoker when you're playing a Bristleback. The Invoker does seem to be going Quas Exhort, though. Not sure if they'll transition to Quas Wex, rather, but that is something that they can look out for. Bristle on the top lane is getting low, but he seems to be fine, just under the tower. The Viper is stacking, probably preparing to pull. None of the camps are blocked. They are going in on the Bristleback. Out pops the E, and they manage to get a kill. I don't feel like that should have happened, but it was before his regen was supplied, so I guess that's going to happen. On the mid lane, Fatty on that Invoker is looking low on HP, but higher on mana, and the Nyx is just able to bottle up and get right back in things. We'll see what happens. I missed a kill on the bottom lane, and it does look like they managed to get that kill there onto the Skywrath. Very squishy hero. I want to see Ahab get that last hit. Oh, get it! There we go. And time walks away. The mid lane Invoker is still ahead in terms of the last hits, but is getting harassed pretty heavily by the Nyx Assassin, missing some last hits there. The bot lane, they're putting a lot of pressure down onto this Clinks, but he's going to be able to live just with that nice dispel from the Abaddon. Abaddon's early item seems to be Phase Boots. He does have a Gloves of Haste. I'm not sure if he's going to go a Midas. I don't think he's doing that well that it makes sense, but he might still be trying to. It looks like they're going to complete the wand on him. Top lane, Quill Sprays are coming out, but they're just able to back up under the safety of their Tier 1 tower. Bristleback is doing quite well on the last hits. We go down where they kill Ahab. I almost missed that one, but they do get the jump and they do put enough damage in. I'm not sure if Time Walk was on cooldown or if Abaddon managed to get the Curse of Avernus off. That was probably a combination of the two. Meanwhile, in terms of CS, Bristleback is doing quite well. Seems to be not necessarily getting too far ahead, but the lane is going about how I expected it to go. Magnus, that one kill they didn't manage to get quite early on. That's very helpful. I look away and they get another kill, and now they're putting more pressure on. So we'll see how this bottom lane goes, but yeah, no ability to put sustained pressure, and they're trading. Essentially, you're trading the harass of Skye with the harass of Clinks, but with the additional sustain that they can provide. I saw that happening on top. I decided to keep looking down here. On the top lane, they are, it looks like, trying to go on to the Bristleback. Viper dies bottom, not Viper dies, Abba dies bottom as soon as I look away. Will they manage to kill Holcomb? He sticks up. He's on full sticks. I would personally just give up after this. No, he's still trying to fight. Reasonable amount of quill stacks. And now Viper has shown up as well. Looks like they will be going aggressive here. There's a stun that comes out, and that is enough to halt the aggression. Looking at the bottom lane, things are probably going to kick off again here. Maybe? Looks like they certainly are. He's forced to jump away on Ahab. This lane doesn't seem to be the happiest place on earth for him. Mid lane, the CS is exactly even. The denies, however, go 4 in the favor of Invoker. Oh, now Nyx takes the lead. I'm kidding, of course. On the top lane, it looks like they are trading. It's going to be very close. He gets the stun out, gets the damage out. They get the kill on the Bristle beforehand. Viper gets all that experience. But at least the Slardar is able to get further ahead. And the Slardar is the one who gets the kill. So that's going to be some gold helping him get tankier and tankier and tankier. On the bot lane, they are still trying to play into Ahab. Still trying to get kills on him. Let's see if he gets this last hit. No, he does not. Looks like Slardar TP's back top. Nyx Assassin has made a rotation. He walks in to within range of that. I think within range of that, but then dies shortly after. Gets that kill, and then runs back mid with the haste rune. Fatty, meantime, has appreciated this, getting a couple of free last hits. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, they were able to put some pressure onto Clinks, but it looks like that got taken away. A level of time dilation was chosen. I like the Void's build here. Getting the 2 levels in Time Walk in a lane where you're going to be a little bit more defensive, I think works. There's a lot of people, Holcomb in particular, who will get levels in Time Lock and then just out-bash, their opponent. What am I missing?
Dire's courier has been killed. The value carried was
Oh, is he going to dive? He is diving. Out comes the Sunstrike, and that's going to turn things around. Very nice map awareness there to get a kill and to get a lot of good damage. A lot of good damage. Ultimately, that's another kill that's being put towards Ahab. On the top lane, things are getting aggressive. They're trying to go in on the Viper. They do get a stun out. They're now going to play up on the Bristleback with all that physical damage coming out of Holcomb, standing in front. They managed to kill him as well. I do not think this is a lane where they should be able to do that, but they are making it happen. Wizarmoon seems to be still up for the Radiant. That's something they should look into. But, you can only do so much as a support. There's an Arcane Rune now on the Nyx. He's TPing top. They get a kill. and he is going to be late to the party. He has ulted. It looks like they're going to chase down Bathtub Daddy, but in all seriousness, that's a perfectly fine death to take. That's a Vendetta wasted, or Arcane Vendetta wasted, and a lot of good pressure getting out onto this middle tower. The bottom lane is still a rough place to be. They're now level 6. The Sky is still level 4, so there is a level advantage here. Some of that will be offset when the Wisdom Rune is picked up, but that, of course, has not happened yet. Now, in terms of moves, it's a little difficult. I think the supports have got to move with Slardar. You need to get levels up onto your Skywrath Mage to be able to make that movement. I think you're in a little bit more of a passive pressure situation on the Dire, where you just want to put a lot of pressure into the tier 1 bottom, using the strength of that Abaddon, using the strength of that Viper, and then Nyx can try and get picks where he can. Now, there are some vulnerable targets to Nyx that he should definitely try and go for. And just as I say they should try and connect, they do try and connect. Skywrath Mage comes top, and now sitting behind the Dire. We'll see if he gets spotted. He does get spotted. He does try and take those. He gets one of them, but the other one goes the way of the Bristle, and now they're just trying to chase them down. Clinkz his TP top as well, probably going to join them. It's going to be a little interesting to see what happens here, but he walks right back into them, and Clinkz is going to put damage. They're chasing down the Viper. They do manage to get the kill on the Viper, and miraculously Skywrath Mage has just been able to run away from all of the pain. Holcomb is very close to death. He might die as well. He does die. They do get the kill on the Bristle, and now it is just Clinkz against the two of them. Clinkz does manage to pop the Grimstroke, and now trying to chase down the Skywrath, but it looks like the Skywrath will live. As far as that fight goes, it looks like it's actually pretty even in terms of the gold, the 2 deaths for the 2 deaths. A lot of damage there coming out of the Bristle, a lot of damage there coming out of the Slardar. But again, I think the passive pressure here is probably what would actually benefit the Dire the most, is if they just try to bully down the tower bottom, like Abaddon is trying to do right now. As far as items go, he is going for that Echo Saber. I think that's a good item choice, especially because his silence is going to be important. They're going on the top lane, again, grouped up with that Slardar, making that right choice, killing off the Viper easily to start the fight, and then they go on to the Skywrath Mage, picking him as well. Holcomb might be dying here. He does get beat down, and now it's just a contest of can they chase down this Grimstroke. The creeps are not going to make it easy for them, though, blocking some of those choke points, and it does look like he will be able to escape back to his tower safely. The support Clinkz does seem to be going for an Orchid, not going to go for a Phylactery, which is what we would commonly see. Grimstroke is going for a Glimmer Cape. I think that's a good item choice, especially the magic resistance. They are going on the bot lane. They are trying to get kills, but they are going to be experiencing no difficulties whatsoever turning around and killing that Abaddon. Clinkz is TPing bottom, having left that lane for a little while, and now Grimstroke requires a reconnection. I should take this time to put up the net worth. There we go. So at the top of the net worth is the Bristleback. Despite those deaths in lane that he had, he still farmed fairly well. The Nyx is also doing moderately well in that middle lane. Ahab did well. He's about even, I should say, with the Abaddon. And the others are unfortunately a little bit further behind. The biggest deficit, really that entire 1k deficit, is between Bristleback and the Slardar. But hopefully they'll be able to bring the heat in the mid game. I'm going to speed this up a little bit, just because no one likes watching these pauses. People are, of course, drawing. This is Ahab using his single brain cell. I'm kidding. But interesting, they're going an Ags Rush on the Bristle. Usually I would like one more item, something in between. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but something to make him a little bit tankier. Look at the Viper, he's going treads. Can't really say anything about that. You got the Dagon on the Nyx, that makes sense. And then on the bot lane, nothing on the Sky showing in his quick buy, but the mana boots, everything standard on him. Kling's, like I said, going overhead, and Ahab does have that Mask of Madness. That's something that's going to help him farm the jungle when that pressure does come up. And I'm assuming that our mid-invoker has a Midas, and yeah, won't be participating for the next 10 minutes. I'm kidding, of course. He has been hitting some stun strikes that have been very useful. There seems to be a fight on the top lane where the first casualty is a courier. It wanted to go back home to its courier family at the end of the day and tell them that, you know, they don't have to worry and that Christmas is on, but instead it will just not be returning home at all. They're able to make lots of damage up on top lane. They don't actually finish off the Viper. They do finally finish him off, but Bristle lives as a result. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, they're going to try and make a play there onto that tier 1 tower. Trying to hold it. Will be able to hold it. Able to frighten him off. He has an ulti in 5 seconds, which is going to be quite helpful. And he pops it there. It looks like he might just run down the Skywrath Mage here. Nothing that can be done there for the Skywrath Mage. And the Faceless Void now is left alone. Is going to be pressured in its own accord. And is trying to jump away, but it's not going to be in time. They're able to run him down too, get that silence out. Out comes the Grimstroke, trying to buy space, but cannot. And it looks like Abaddon may just go for a third here. Up the hill, hitting him. Doesn't get the silence off though, so he does successfully make it top. Now Holcomb is also going for an Echo Saber. That's something that will help him be tanky and help him fight and farm. As far as the net worth deficit goes at this point, 3k 13 minutes in isn't the biggest of deals, especially when you have, you know, a team fight ulti like the Chronosphere and the enemy team doesn't really have anything contrary to that, or as big as that, I should say. Nyx Assassin seems to be making a play towards top, but thinks better of it. I'm not quite sure where he wants to go with this Vendetta. There's a smoke up on 2 of them, walking into their jungle, 3 of them now, trying to find a target, and they are just narrowly missing the Viper. But Viper comes out, he pops their smoke, and he's now able to run away. It looks like the Dire are not going to react. Instead, there's a go onto mid where they're trying to put pressure onto the Invoker, but the Invoker's able to turn around, just trying his best to drop some spells. He drops a Tornado, keeps him up in the air. His ult pops. Abaddon is going to start turning, trying to fight through this. The Nyx Assassin's Dagon comes out. It doesn't actually kill anyone. Spells are pushed. No one is dying. The first person to die, in fact, may actually be. It is not Holcomb. They do manage to turn around. They do get the kill in Abaddon. And now they do try and chase down some of the members of the Radiant. You got all people from the Dire who are here, and Void is bottom, making use of this space and getting to farm. That's one D-Ward out, I suppose. And Bristle trying to use that Eggs to pressure. Nyx Assassin has managed to get behind the tower. Easy kill onto the Grimstroke, and is now chasing them down. This is going to be a difficult situation for the Radiant. Invoker gets picked off. Does manage to get a kill on the Viper. I didn't want to speak too soon and jinx it, and Holcomb is now in the mix. He's trying to get in front of the Bristle, trying to kill him, trying to put out the damage. They do manage to kill him successfully. However, the Clinks and the Nyx Assassin are trying to turn. They don't manage to turn. There was a silence out from Sky that helped prevent Nyx from getting his spells off, and now they're trying to go onto him. There is an Invis rune that the Nyx looks like he's going to pick up, and that might be the end of this fight, mercifully. Abba respawns, goes top, and starts to chunk down the tower. They are now TPing in on the Invoker. Hopefully he'll be able to do something. Puts him up in the air. Mistimes the disarm, which is not going to be great, but did at least manage to hit him with the EMP and take his mana. Bristle is now, or sorry, Abaddon should I say, is just running him down. Trying to pop that shield, but it doesn't pop when you are healing from the damage the tower is taking. Alt is still on cooldown. He's silenced. We'll see if they're able to kill him, and they are. A very timely bash from Ahab takes him down. So these last few minutes have been non-stop action from the Radiant, and it has helped, or should I say between these two teams, and it has helped bring them back into it. They're able to now get a return kill on Clinkz after he tried to get cheeky and get a pick off onto the Grimstroke. Mid tower is being held. They have lost bottom tier 1, and the map may start to close in on them, but in terms of the lineups that are on the timer, I definitely think the Dire have something. Need to buy some time. Invoker dies, and that's going to happen against the Jinx Assassin. Just getting blown up by that Dagon. They're going on to Holcomb in the mid lane. He wisely just TPs out, makes it away from there. There are, the only stuns on the Dire are the Jinx Assassin, so if he shows top, you are free to just TP.
Radiant's middle tower has been utterly destroyed.
Viper seems to be going for a 4-staff. It looks like he's thinking I'm just going for a full Hurricane Pike, seemingly trying to transition into something of a core. The instant D-ward, I would accuse him of hacking. But you wouldn't be hacking, and I would just be bad, and so accusing people to make myself feel better. Slardar is trying to make some space, cuts that stun onto Ahab. Ahab is Glimmer Caped, turning around, manages to get the kill. Jinx Assassin is sitting in the background. They see him as he's under a sentry ward. He is just trying to chase him down. He goes back underneath the sentry ward. Now he knows they know he's there, and he is still just walking around. Ooh, out comes the Chronosphere, managing to catch him on the very end of it. But Ahab gives up partway through. Bristle is now in himself, able to try and get a fight off. Ghost walking away on that Invoker should keep him safe. A Eul Scepter now up onto the Nyx, not sure what he wants to do with that. I think it's mainly just to purge the Invis-Sea, I guess? But I'm not quite certain.
Enemies gather at Radiant's bottom tower.
Alright. Mjolnir coming up next on the Faceless Void. Hopefully he gets that soon. He has been contributing, I think, in a pretty healthy way to some of these fights when he has Chronosphere. Jinx Assassin is hunting him, though. 1400 HP. Is he going to be able to get through him? Let's see. He's out of mana now. Out comes the Dagon, and out comes the Mind Flare. Killing him and picking him off. On the top lane, they do manage to get a kill onto the Viper, but they pay with the Slardar, and they chase. The chase is on. We'll see if they manage to catch them. Out comes that weird little hairball thing, catching them both. The silence is out onto the Skywrath Mage. Skywrath Mage dies, and it looks like a siege is going to be set up on this tier 2 tower top. They also lose the Wisdom Rune, which has been there since 14 minutes and should have been picked up. But what can you do? Bristle is positioning to take their Tormentor, while the Dire team sieges the top tower. Well, they managed to pop the borrowed time at least for the Abaddon, which is very helpful. They kill that tier 2, they kill that Tormentor. There's now the Viper poison attack. The affected building things is honestly pretty nice for a support Viper. Lets you push a little bit faster. But I wouldn't say the Radiant are necessarily out of this yet. They do have the ability to fight with Chronosphere still. And as I say that, they smoke up on their supports, and they do seem to be making a move into the triangle. Holcomb has shown, or at least they've shown on one of their heroes, and now they are looking and posturing very aggressively for a kill. Nyx gets another pick, this time taking down the Invoker on that bot lane. He's now up to Dagon level 3. Oh, out comes a stun. They are trying to run him down. Puts him up in the air. TP's out. He's not going to get out. I was going to say I didn't think he'd get out, but he is able to pop that Spike Carapace. Meanwhile, his team is fighting in the enemy triangle, trying to get a kill. They were not able to get a kill. And that's a godlike streak that's now ended and has gone the way of the Faceless Void. They're able to get a silence out onto that Clinks, but he lives. He picks up the Wisdom Rune again. So that's 2 consecutive Wisdom Runes that have gone the way of the Dire. Holcomb jumps in, gets a pick off, and now with the Nyx Assassin dead, it looks like the Radiant are the ones who want to just chase them down. I think Invoker tried to TP, but his boots of travel there were cut off by the eat from the Clinks. Now he's ran in, punches him, and the borrowed time has been procced. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, Ahab has taken their bottom tier 1 and has opened up the map a little bit to get some space. He does also get revenge here, taking one of their Wisdom Runes and running away. Maybe he could have gotten that kill if he stuck around, but you don't also know who's there. So the smoked up Radiant trying to push forward. They drop a ward. It is, I think, outside? Yep, just outside of the detection that has been put there by the Dire. The Radiant are pushing up into their triangle, looking for a kill. However, no one is unfortunately home. Their scan also proves fruitless, and Ahab is exposed on the bot lane. Oh, he pumps the Chronosphere and misses, unfortunately. However, they do still manage to get him, put him up into the air. The zoning Chronosphere forcing him back into the team. That's the next level move. Disarm, but out comes a big stun, a double stun then following up. And now it looks like the Radiant have been caught with their pants down. Holcomb gets killed, picked off by the Clinks after the Clinks finishes off the Sky, and there are mass TPs out. Should be able to get away. You got the Impale on cooldown. However, the Duels is now just coming off of cooldown. They know where he is. He's going to get picked off. However, they don't have detection. They pop it now. They see him in that corner, and they all gather around to watch him die. There's now a growing gold lead looking at 8k. And it's going to be a tough fight. The whiff of that Chronosphere really left them powerless to fight back. Meanwhile, Nyx Assassin goes middle. He is going to show under this detection. They know that he's there. He knows they know that he's there because of the creeps. But he makes no effort to deny the tower. Hit it! Hit it, Forge Spirit! Hit it! Alright, Forge Spirit didn't want to hit it. That's fine. The Aegis has now been put onto the Bristleback. He's getting big. He's getting tanky. He's got a Bloodstone. He's got an Axe. He's got an Aegis. He is ready to make, at the very least, a bona fide attempt at going high ground. The Silence get dropped onto the Nyx. It looks like he's been caught out. He pops an Illusion Rune, which helps him live, helps him get away. Ahab jumps in, not able to do anything. The Sunstrike misses as well, and Bristle is out, putting the damage in the backline. That Mind Flare picking off the Faceless Void.
Radiant's bottom tower is threatened by fiends.
Now with the tier 2 falling, it seems like they want to try and make an effort to go high ground. Currently seeming to be in a pretty good position for it. You have a lot of deep push. You do some very annoying things to try and push up on. A Silencer comes out of Invoker. Nyx whiffs the stun. Bristle posturing forward, gets shielded. A lot of spells being thrown, but no kills. But maybe now there's a kill. However, he does then pop his Bloodstone and pops his Bristle back, able to just lifesteal up to full HP. This Bristle is proving very difficult to get through, and is going to be very apt at hitting those towers. Holcomb in with the 3-man stun. Out comes the Tornado. Manages to take away only a little bit of the mana from the Viper, and now the Bristle seems to want to go back in. He's not lifestealing as much off of that. Holcomb gets hit. Ooh, and the Chronosphere comes out only onto the Viper, but catches the Clinks on the side as well. They're trying to get around to heal him. They do not get there in time. Ahab manages to kill one, has to leap away. Holcomb survives that quite surprisingly, but the Grimstroke has died as well. Skywrath, Invoker, and Void all trying to put out damage, and Void gets stunned and just disappears by the massive amount of damage. Out comes the meatball burning down the wave, but it's not enough. They are going to get this last set of racks, and even though they pick off the Abaddon, the Sunstrike comes out onto the Nyx Assassin. They are chasing. He does get clipped, but it is too much to try and push through this Bristleback. He's able to just walk right back at them. The stun comes out. Out comes the Nyx Assassin. Mind Flare and Dagon. He runs away. We'll see how many uphill misses Holcomb gets. Will it kill him? No, he lives. So that's one set of racks taken. 27 minutes in, it's not the end of the world. There is a 13k gold lead, which does make things a little bit more difficult. And Holcomb now wants to jump in. He goes onto the Bristle. The Bristleback, at least they know that the Viper isn't with them. They suspect that he is alone, and they are trying to run him down. He is silenced the entire time. They do manage to successfully burst him. So they have gotten through that Aegis once. They've gotten through it twice in the last few minutes, and they have killed him. Abaddon, however, might prove to be just as difficult of a kill, especially with all that damage coming out with the assistance of the Clinks. With the assistance of the Nyx Assassin, the Radiant have to run away. The Nyx Assassin now has a level 4 Dagon. He's going a Wind Waker next. I gotta say, I think that's probably the best item in the game at the moment. You're at a Harpoon coming out onto the Abaddon. That makes sense. It's gonna help him get on those squishy, soft backline supports. This looks like it could be a Gleipnir for the Clinks, but he has a Blightstone. It could also just be a Desolator, with him and Viper both trying to transition into cores. Viper's decided to go Eternal Shroud again. I'm not sure I 100% agree with that decision, given that he already gets magic resistance. It seems like the damage and what's going to be killing him in this game is more than likely the physical damage. What do I know? Ahab trying to backdoor the top tower. Looks like he's going for a Manta style. That'll be helpful. The silence will be good against Clinks. It'll be good against Abba. Or I should say the ability to purge those silences will be good against those two heroes. Holcomb is trying to get a BKB. That's, you know, it's not necessary because of the stuns, but it is necessary just because of the amount of gobbledygook that has to be sorted through. In terms of support items, you know, Force Staffs are always helpful. We got one up and we got a Glimmer Cape, so they've at least gotten those defensive, more team-orientated items on the top lane. Holcomb is trying to run down the Abaddon, getting the right clicks out onto him. However, he does have borrowed time. Holcomb has to turn and try his best to run, but the rest of the team was too slow, and now they're getting out on Skywrath Mage. He TPs away, and without any stuns, he makes it. I also don't think they saw him. This Glimmer Cape fades, and just as they catch it, he is able to get his way to the high ground. So the Radiant are pretty cramped in their base. Down a racks. Things are not looking good. It is a 16k gold lead. We haven't really seen the most grand of Chronospheres yet, but I'm sure it'll happen. Borrowed time, helping the Abaddon get back up to full HP. He now has a little bit of mana from his mana boots, and they're still just going to keep pressuring this tower. There's a lone courier sitting there, just looking out over the battlefield. Someone needs to give it a command. Someone needs to put it back to the fountain, but they're not. Heart of Tarrasque up next for the Bristle. That will make him incredibly tanky. It'll make sieging high ground so much easier for him. There's no real ways to reduce HP regen, I think, from the Radiant. And that courier that was sitting there was giving commands, but it just ends up dying. So yeah, Gleipnir has been completed now. Onto the Clinks. We'll see if he's able to use that to push in effectively, or at least help get some pickoffs on some heroes. Invoker has his eggs. He's probably had that for at least a couple minutes. That'll be an excellent combo when a good Chronosphere has landed. Just needs a refresher orb. On the bot lane, they found the Nyx Assassin. They are going in on him. and they managed to just kill him. Would have thought there would have been a little bit more damage coming out, but between the stuns and the bashes and the vision, he dies very, very quickly. Ahab then gets some more space to farm to try and get some gold up on this Chronosphere. Holcomb does die in the mid lane, but at the very least that is space. He's only sitting 2,200 gold behind the Bristle, the big man of this game. Silence comes out. They got the Glimmer Cape. They got that Force Staff. That should help him live. Or was that Ghost Walk? No. Ahab is into the back line. He's trying to get away out of there. Does use the Ogre Shield Totem to jump away. Probably the best neutral item in the game for what it gives. And he is able to just jump out of there into safety. It would surprise me if the Radiant do try and go high ground, or sorry, the Dire do try and go high ground. They are missing their Nyx Assassin, but at this point, the big siege engine for them is that Bristleback. Perhaps they want to wait for the next Aegis. That does seem to be the safest bet. However, they have an 18k gold lead. They do jump on the Viper top. A lot of damage coming out. The Meatball hits him. It does manage to take him down. That's another kill going to get Ahab, again helping him catch that Bristleback. Despite the Invoker's Midas bots, he's unfortunately, I suppose he's not actually that far. He used to be behind the Clinks. He's now made a little bit of a comeback, and as the map opens up, there's going to be more space for them to farm. They are TPing bot lane, however, in full vision of the Dire. First thing he does is Glimmer Cape. That's not a great sign. However, they don't have detection, and out come the double silences from that Grimstroke. He might die, but at the very least, Invoker will live. They also kill the Skywrath right off the bat, and Ahab is forced to run away. Holcomb is in. He's just going to kill the Clinks, and out comes the big Silent Strike Hullabaloo. They managed to also get the kill onto the Nyx Assassin, and now they're trying to burn away that mana and eventually burn away the HP of the Bristleback. However, this is truly going to be a fight against the raid boss, as he is just absolutely too tanky. The Quill Sprays are coming out. Ahab comes in trying to hit him. Out comes the Bloodstone, and then no heals or to be found. However, this does now open up the Roshan pit for them. They should be able to take it fairly quickly with the ult from Slardar, and he is just right-clicking it down. I suspect the Aegis will go on the Faceless Void. He is the one who needs it. Roshan's banner comes out. Probably a disproportionately good item to get from the second Roche, but it is killable. So maybe I'm just bad at killing it. I have noticed some good warding from the Dire this game, really just helping to give them vision. They've been getting some excellent D-wards too. The Radiant have as well, but I've just noticed a little bit more from the Dire. A Wisdom Rune being claimed and an Arcane Rune now on the Nyx Assassin. If there's going to be a round of spells, they will be coming up even quicker now. We'll see if the Radiant decide to try and do anything with this Aegis. I suspect not. They have cut down that gold lead from 8k down to 13. They're running top now. It seems like they want to make a play onto this Clinks while they can see him. However, he does get a few Gleipnir procs. In jumps Holcomb with the stun. He gets out that Invis C. They are going to be able to chase him down. The amplify damage. Bristle is now in. They do drop down the ult from the Grimstroke, the EMP, draining most of Viper's mana. He does get some back from popping a 1, but he dies. Meanwhile, Grimstroke gets absolutely just popped, and Ahab is now chasing. He gets stunned, not able to get the Chronosphere out onto the Nyx, and they're running back in. Clinks has now bought back. Abaddon has TP'd in as well, so this is going to be a very difficult kill for them to get. The Wind Waker comes out, getting him to the low ground, and now they may have to just run. The silence comes out instantly onto Ahab. He does have that Aegis of the Immortal, but he gets locked down, gets right-clicked to death. Out comes the stun. It misses, and Ahab gets to jump away. Skywrath Mage, however, pays for that, and now he just gets ran down, able to just keep jumping and just keep buying space. Slardar's made it back to base. He is now silenced. He does now get picked off. The good news is they don't have a creep wave middle, and they don't have a creep wave top. So taking objectives will be a little bit difficult for them. If they really want to make something happen off of this. The good news for the Dire, though, is that they did manage to still burn that Aegis. Granted, it did cost them a buyback in the last fight from the Clinks. Someone who, even though they're not a core, is certainly seeming to be trying to scale into one. Never mind, they have a creep wave coming to them now. Tornado comes out, out comes a stun, a double stun, and they're able to just raid off the bat, kill off that Clinks. He's dead now for 89 seconds. The ice wall coming out, very difficult for the Dire to get through. And now we're starting to see, I think, when there's going to be... Oh, wow, Nyx Assassin just disappears. That was a mid-hero. Out comes the Skywrath Mage ult. Not securing any kills, but the disarm is certainly going to help the Invoker get away, and the Bristleback Eggs just shreds that Invoker, and it just shreds that Grimstroke. Grimstroke buys back as they run top, or they run upwards, I should say, on that Slardar. The siege of the top lane continues, and the tower still stands, even though blood has been spilt. It is, at the very least, a solid structure. With the Lincoln Sphere now onto the Faceless Void, I guess it blocks Viper Strike and some Nyx Assassin spells. Personally, I probably would have just preferred a BKB, but if he feels like he needs the Lincolns for one specific reason or the other, that's helpful. Holcomb is going for an AC. That's going to be good for him. The attack speed is always good on Slardar. Puts down the banner to help contradict or counteract, I should say, the pressure coming in. Meanwhile, you got some good support items here coming out of the Radiant. I appreciate those Glimmers and those Force Staffs. The Atos is also quite helpful. The Dire are still scaling. Abaddon has a Radiance now. He has a Manta style, so he's going to be a big boy core. Bristleback's build, granted, it still does a lot of damage, and he still hits very hard, but it's not a scaling build, or should I say not a physical right-click damage scaling build. Nyx, meanwhile, has a Dagon. He has that Wind Waker. His survivability didn't help him in the last fight. I would like to see him get one item that helps with that. I don't think it's E-Blade, personally. But it'll at the very least stop people from right-clicking him. And at the very least, he can use it to put on people in Chronosphere. They've now smoked up. They are running through the Radiant jungle. They lose their top tower. Clinks picks up bounty runes. He's getting closer and closer to his Bloodthorn. And it looks like the Dire are just out hanging for kills. We do still have a minute and 45 until Roshan responds, according to the fancy timer I have. So they are going to take that portal north, potentially try and look for kills in the enemy's triangle. That's at least where I would be going if I was them. We'll see who has the misfortune of showing on this wave. It seems like it will be Michael. They see that tornado come out. Or do they? Bathtub Daddy has managed to spot that Viper. And now Istine has spotted them as well. They're trying to fight back. However, the one support is getting picked right away. But Skywrath has died. Clinks has died in return. Slardar gets out. They also get the pick onto the Grimstroke, and they are chasing. Ahab finishes that TP, so he's going to get to safety as well. In all seriousness, that is not a bad exchange. At all, given how long they were smoked up for in that, looking for those kills. Invoker's able to pressure down a middle lane. If they don't respond soon, I could see them very much losing this tower. They use the fort. That should be enough. It is not. The Forge Spirits may be able to just kill the tower for free, but they die. Their summon time needs to be longer. Ice Frog, give them a buff, please. The Dire have posted up again on that top lane. They're seeking to do the damage. Out comes the Tornado, out comes the EMP, and up go the enemy cores. We'll see how long this tower can remain standing for. I suspect not long. Damage coming out from Sky, but it barely even tickles them, and even as they try and slow them, they just, as soon as they get a hold, they're able to get out onto him. Ahab on the back line, trying to do damage, but honestly is not doing enough. He has to jump away. They are chasing on the next assassin. Tornado catches him out. He doesn't get spells off. There's a fight going on inside of the base, and they look to be in some trouble. Nobody dies, but they just basically gave up a Rax for free. They don't have Aegis on the Dire yet, so there's nothing to take. And Ahab is trying to fight back. Pops his Manta style. In jumps Holcomb, gets a 3-man stun, but stuns himself in the Spike Carapace. He is just fighting their team, trying to get damage out. They've isolated the Bristleback, but the Bristleback doesn't seem to care. He's not trapped in the Radiant base with them. They're trapped in there with him. Again, the Meatball coming out of the Tornado, trying to get the damage onto the Abaddon. He dies with borrowed time on cooldown, and it looks like they've gotten their first kill of this fight. Holcomb again jumping on the backline, trying to fight. Doesn't have his BKB, but they jump in on Ahab. They do right-click down the Clinks. He's died as well. Ahab is just going to go crazy on the backlines. He's chasing down that Viper. Meanwhile, in the base, Bristle is trying his best to do damage, but he's just getting kited. It is not enough. He's sitting on that ice wall, trying to figure out what he can possibly do. Meanwhile, Ahab decides it's his turn and jumps him. Out comes the stun from the Nyx Assassin, and it looks like the Dire are trying to run away. Holcomb will not let them, though. He's out chasing that Nyx Assassin. Nyx uses the Wind Waker to get away, and they cannot chase far enough. Or maybe I'm wrong. No, I think I'm right. Bristle is backing off. All things considered, not a bad fight for the Radiant. The gold lead now is only 9k, and if you look at that fight recap, that's a 2-for-1 with a buyback, but 3,000 gold going the way of the Radiant. A neutral creep. Well, that's too bad.
Dire's middle tower is ravaged by the enemy.
They do seem to be hanging out around this, just looking for a kill. Invoker's dead for 64 seconds. They may try to make something happen. Clinks goes in, stops the Skywrath Mage's TP, but also stops living. Not something that he would have wanted there. Nyx Assassin as well now is closing in. I don't think the Skywrath Mage is going to be long for this world. Oh, gets popped by the Dagon. That was painful to watch. I don't play Skywrath, but I imagine dying like that sucks. The Assault Cuirass now up onto the Viper. Interesting choice. I don't know what the fuck this guy's doing, to be honest. I imagine it's good against... I mean, it's good against Slardar, but why don't you have Bristle get it? That is a really big range still, but yeah. I would just prefer it on Bristle. Bristle's also going for a Wind Waker. That's interesting choice. Again, like I said, it's the best item in the game. I don't think it's the best item in the game on Bristleback, though. That being said, I also don't know what else he does. Holcomb goes in, able to do some damage. Grimstroke just gets deleted. Holcomb is now trying to chase down the Nyx Assassin, and they blow him up with the bash from the Slardar. That's enough. They got the slows from the ice wall onto the other heroes. They're going in now onto the Abaddon. Abaddon is just sitting in the flames from that meatball. He's having a good time. They're silenced onto the Void. Void buys back. He's trying to get in. They're trying to chase down the Clinks. However, they just don't have the damage, and he drops. No Slardar for 122 seconds. Holcomb is getting tipped. Ahab has bought back. He does have the Chronosphere. They do have a ward out. It's an interesting ward. Placing it down there. Tornado goes in, out goes the Chronosphere. They do manage to catch Bristleback just on the very outside of it. They are able to... I spoke too soon. I said they were about able to click him down, but it looks like he's able to just Wind Waker away to safety. They catch the Viper. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do anything with that, though. And indeed, they do have to get back to bases. Abaddon is just trying to pick off that final tower. He gets bashed to death before he can do anything. In any event, he didn't have his ulti, so he was always going to die there. And now there's a 10k lead. That last fight featured, you know, buybacks from the Faceless Void, but they got some money from it. I think they got some money from it. Doesn't show the buybacks though, and I imagine with the buybacks that's much less than 2,500. Void is able to jump away, and he does manage to make it out, given that there are no stuns. Bristle is able to run and just hit things. He's the double damage room. That's going to hurt. At the very least, they do have a break on that Silver's Edge now as a way to help solve the Bristleback problem, but they do have other problems to solve. Where's buyback? Buyback status. There we go. Void on dieback. Clinks on... No, not Clinks. Slardar on buyback cooldown, and Grimstroke on buyback cooldown. So that's 3 people in the Radiant who do not have buyback, and I imagine they were, at the very least, quite expensive. At the very least now, the net worth is looking a little bit better. They do also manage to just start off a fight with a pick onto the Nyx Assassin, which is huge. Out comes the triple meatball. That's what we call the meatball surprise at my local pizzeria. They are able to, you know, link and disarm the Viper. However, Holcomb is now trapped in the pit. Out comes the Chronosphere. Down comes the Cataclysm. They drop one. They're going to be able to drop that Bristleback next. Clinks has bought back, but what is he even coming back to? Abaddon is running about, trying to have an effect on this game, but that's going to be difficult. Holcomb doesn't get killed by the big angry Rocheman. Rocheman decides he gets to live, and now Abaddon is left alone. He does have his ulti, but he cannot do this 4 versus 1 with just an ulti. That's going to be very tough for him. The silence comes out. Ahab turns around, and they manage to kill him. Holcomb jumps back in and dies, giving his life, perhaps needlessly for the cause, but certainly in a way that is appreciated. And Roshan now drops, taken by the Radiant. Anyways, the Refresher Orb coming out onto the Faceless Void. You got an Octarine core on the Invoker. It looks like, based on this, that he is going to be going for that elusive Wind Waker. Again, the best item in the game. You got Grimstroke. Looks like he's going for a Hex. Not a bad item to have either. And Skywrath Mage has an Aghanim's Scepter that has been recently purchased. So it looks like the Radiant are all tooling up for this game. The gold, for the first time in a long time, is now even. Abaddon really hasn't progressed too much in his items. Bristleback has that Wind Waker, like we said, but not a lot of progression. And Nyx Assassin decided not to finish that E-Blade and instead going for the Aeon Disc, perhaps to help him survive Cataclysm and those quick jumps more. He has been getting blown up in a lot of these fights. Viper is going for an Aghanim's Scepter next. That nosedive thing is very helpful, and certainly is not griefing. The Disarm might actually be useful this game against the Void and against the Slardar. The Clinks, meanwhile, has finished his Bloodthorn and is trying to go a Desolator. I might be stupid, but I think he sold his Blightstone. He's going to have to buy that again. The Radiant, however, are still in their base. Despite their team fight superiority, the Clinks does have the ability to push in a lot of the outside lanes and get back in time for fights. So, at the very least, he's able to contribute that way. We have a smoke up on the side of the Radiant. They're pushing out, killing off a Sentry Ward. Was that a Sentry Ward? Was that an illusion? Jumping in again. Oh, that was probably a Nyx Assassin illusion. Blowing the smoke onto that. Clinks is pushed in the top lane, and our Faceless Void has gone back to push it out. Again, I do think a BKB would have been useful this game on the Faceless Void, but a Lincoln Sphere is also helpful. Holcomb has his BKB. He also has the cheese in his backpack. Interestingly, his boots are... Sorry, his cheese in his inventory. His boots are in his backpack, probably because the sprint gives him that extra speed. So this is going to be an interesting game in terms of the way that this thing ends. Bristleback has gone for a bit of an interesting build. He's not going to scale as hard. And I think things will be a little tough for them, especially with now that the supports have items. Locking them down is going to be more difficult. Yes, they do have the Harpoon on the Abaddon, but it's no guarantee. He does have an Aghanim Scepter now. I feel like he could have not had that eaten and just kept the Orb of Corrosion. But in any event, he does have the Aghanim Scepter. That will help people live. Next is Prowling. Since the Radiant have shapen up, he hasn't gotten a kill in a little while, but he is still definitely looking. The quick pick happens onto the Clinks. They're able to catch him out. I'm not sure exactly how that one started, but we know how it ended with a little Bone Man. His light just finally going out. Ooh, they almost managed to catch the Abaddon with that tornado. It would have purged the Invis Rune, and he would have fallen to the ground. And now it looks like the Radiant have decided it's their turn to go high ground with that pick off, missing that damage. They're trying to push forward on Dog, throwing down the Nether Toxin. But I do think they should be able to push this a little bit. Aegis has been reclaimed. I suppose they don't have that now, and it may be a good timing for them to back off and farm up some more. In 5 minutes we will have... Ooh, they jump in, never mind. And they are now trying to go onto the Bristleback. Break coming out onto the Abaddon. He has to manually pop his ult, and he does. Out comes the leash. They are running forward with the Slardar, right-clicking them down. Putting the right-clicks in to the Viper. They are able to kill him. The damage coming out on the backline is huge, killing Grimstroke. The Faceless Void jumps back to help him, but has to be brought back into the fight. Chronosphere is still available, as is Cataclysm. He jumps in and walks out. Chronosphere has been popped. He's not Chronosphere. Lincoln Sphere has been popped. He is rooted. He is silenced. He doesn't have the ability. Doesn't have abilities at the moment. The stun comes out onto the Invoker. He's damaged. Out comes the ult. Quite a big Cataclysm there, getting the Nyx Assassin basically deleted and almost able to kill that Bristle off. However, Bristle runs away. Abaddon comes forward. They probably didn't know that his ult was still on cooldown for a couple minutes, so he gets to live. And that was a pretty good fight. You got the smoke up coming out from the Dire. They now want to try and make something happen here. Catch off one of the retreating members of the Radiant. Holcomb has shown middle. They managed to catch him. He gets the invis off, though, and so maybe they think they didn't. Regardless, this looks like it'll be a difficult game for the Dire to close out, and actually, they're very much on the back foot, being down 11k gold. Holcomb has now taken the second spot on that net worth table over, I should say, surpassing the Bristleback, and the Abaddon walks down the middle lane, 28k gold. Their tankiness is helpful, but at this stage in the game, when you have so much damage and control, it's difficult, important to contend with Chronosphere and Cataclysm at the best of times. Chronosphere gets dropped again, Cataclysm gets dropped again with that refresher. They delete the Abaddon, he dies. They delete the Clinks, he dies. They're disarmed on to the Bristle, but Bristle lifesteal's up to, a very nice bit of health. Trying to go in, however, that's going to be dissuaded just by the tankiness and the number of quill stacks that they have. Invoker has brought back as his Grimstroke. They jump forward onto that Nyx Assassin. They put the Invis C onto him. He's stunned. Holcomb might be dying here. He doesn't seem to be. He manages to live. They're able to go forward. They're able to still get the kills down, disarm the Clinks, kill him off, and that is a dieback onto the Clinks for a huge fight for the Radiant. Grim did buyback. Slardar did buyback, but they both managed to live through that, and now they're going to be able to push down the middle. Again, another very big gold swing, 11k gold up, and huge damage coming out from the Cataclysm there. That was also good Chronosphere, I should say, catching 3 people. Mid-racks are down, and it looks like they are just going for the win. They get the buyback out of Abaddon, but I don't know if that's going to be, enough to hold here, especially with the meatball surprise coming out. Abaddon is disarmed. He pops his ulti. Bristle is trying to run forward as well. Ahab has to run away. Out comes that ice wall, trapping them in their base. They consider using the Wind Waker to get over it on Bristleback, but they do not.
Radiant's middle barracks are swarmed by their enemies.
And it looks like the Radiant are still posturing here. They almost want to be able to go for the win, but that's going to be a very big ask for them. They definitely have the physical damage to get it done. Boots of Travel coming out now on the Faceless Void. Chronosphere is up in 7 seconds. He knows that they see him. Ooh, Holcomb jumps in. He does get the stun off. He BKBs. The damage is still going to come out, and it looks like they're trying to go on him. Cataclysm comes out. Double Cataclysm comes out. Viper disappears. Ooh, Abaddon disappears as well. Getting killed off. That's a double kill for the Invoker, and now Holcomb is saying, let's just end. Get me out of this game. They're doing their best to control him, to control them both. Ooh, the sun comes out. That does help them live. We'll see if they manage to kill them off, but they are able to just disengage. And again, the Bristle is just a raid boss. He is very difficult to kill, but they cannot take him down. But he also cannot take them down. Mutually assured, not destruction. They jump forward. They do manage to get the kill on to the Clinks. He disappears, and just as I say that they cannot kill him, he in fact dies. Buying back, they're running at the Nyx. He presses his... Oh, sorry, that was a Ghost Scepter. I'm stupid. And Bristle's once again holding. Left alone against 3 of them. Ahab getting to just right-click down their towers. They decide to ignore him. He is trying to do damage, but they don't have to kill him. It's too big of a task at this point. All they have to do is kill the Ancient, and that gets them out of the game. GG is called. And finally, this game ends. Radiant triumphant, down 18k at one point, or sorry, 13k at one point, winning now up 29k. I thank you guys for listening and watching. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Thank you, and good night.